To all the viewers. It's live and we expect about 25,000 people to watch this program. Do watch. We're also conducting a competition. We have got a very good response for the Women Managers competition. It's indeed a privilege and privilege to know that. And please do give your name in case you're not given your name for the competition. And the final program for the month of March is discussion on the theme. We have two more programs. Before that, we have startup series. This happening on the 27th. We have an event on the ventilator project. This is again Srikant Sastry and Amitabh Bandyopadhyay is a professor of science and he's going to be talking to us from IIT Kharagpur. How within a month of pandemic, how they developed the world-class ventilator. It's a real success story. It's going to be happening on the 27th of Saturday. And the final event for the month of March is Monday, the 29th. We have data. Strike it out? No. Sunlight is the new oil. That's the theme. And we have two outstanding speakers. That is Vivek Subramaniam, co-founder, executive director of Fourth and partner of Energy. And he'll be in conversation with our own member of MMA Managing Committee, Mr. V. Shankar. He's also founder of CAMPS, director, ACSYS System Investment Limited. This is again not to be missed event. This is all the event for this evening. And let me have the privilege of welcoming each one of you who have joined us on live and also all the people who have joined us hybrid year. It's indeed a privilege to have you with us. Now, coming to this event, the right choice, the book authored by Shivakumar. If Shivakumar talks, we'll walk miles. If he says something, we'll do anything because Mr. Shivakumar is one of the well-wishers of MMA. He's always mentoring, guiding us from time to time. In fact, one of the growth path, what we have been able to achieve and maintain and sustain is Mr. Shivakumar guidance from time to time. He's always shares some of his best reviews, always guides us what we are doing, where we are going wrong. He's always helped us. And we are indeed privileged and honored to host the book, what is written, authored by him, The Right Choice, Resolving the 10 Career Dilemmas for Extraordinary Success. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome the distinguished author for this evening, Mr. Shivakumar. And may I also request other dignitaries to please come onto the stage. As I mentioned, Mr. Shivakumar, may I request you to come onto the stage, sir. Balaraman Jayaraman, Asha, Unnikrishnan, and also my treasurer and chairman board of governors, Megalingam. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our dignitaries this evening. Now it's my privilege to welcome our honorary treasurer and also chairman board of governors, Mr. Mahalingam. He's also the chairman managing director of TSM Sons, and he is one of the great supporters of MMA. He's also chairman of our student convention committee. We do a lot of activities under him. I now request Mr. Mali to please deliver the formal welcome address. Mr. Mali.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see so many of you here. The last time I was here, maybe around, it was 1/3 the crowd. I think two reasons. One, all of us are losing fear of the pandemic, maybe getting vaccinated. And Shiv continues to be a big draw in Chennai. Thanks, Shiv. Okay. Yeah. A very warm welcome to all of you. I think all of you who are here and watching it online. And special welcome to the dignitaries on stage. The man of the moment and the hour, Shiv Shivakumar, Mr. Balaraman, one of the doyens of professional managers in this city and country, and inspiration to many leading corporate managers and entrepreneurs in this country. Another Balaraman Jayaraman, my friend and president of the IIM Calcutta Alumni Association and from Congruent. Another friend, Asha. Incidentally, both of them are classmates of Shiv also. I must confess in the beginning that I'm a trifle nervous, the kind of feeling that juniors in school and college have when they have to talk in front of the seniors. All of them are seniors from college, so pardon my nervousness a bit. Okay. All of them illustrious in their own rights. And talking of illustrious people, we have to talk of Shiv. And I was wondering, why should Vishnu alone have so many avatars? Shiv also can have many avatars. And as all of us know, Shiv has many avatars. A man who's run successfully leading multinational corporations in the country, author, public speaker, independent management speaker, thought leader, so many avatars. But for the day, relevant to me is one avatar which strikes me the most, that of a guru. Let's put in perspective, Dronacharya. Dronacharya was not only a wizard of his craft and mastered his craft, but was an exemplary teacher as well, and he had some exemplary students as well. So Shiv has been passionate about teaching for long. I remember him early in his career being a guest lecturer in my class in Calcutta, teaching a sales and distribution. I think it was in Lipton then, I was not sure. So I remember Shiv then. So early in his career, he started teaching, and ever since, he's not only mastered his craft, but spread the knowledge along all the time. So I guess that shows in all that he does. Whether he used to be a guest lecturer, whether he spoke in his company functions, those days, the aspiring Arjunas were limited because they could listen to him only in these contexts. There are many Ekalavyas like us who watched Shiv from a distance, idolized him, how he made his career moves, how he transitioned from one job to the other successfully and transformed those companies. We were all awestruck. And as Ekalavyas, we were actually learning a lot just observing from a distance. Thanks, Shiv, for that. Maybe you didn't realize that, but we did. Okay. So those are times when there was no technology to communicate so efficiently. Over the last few years, thanks to technology and the YouTube channels of Shiv, which are immensely popular, they get thousands of viewerships, everything he does on multiple topics, including, I just saw one on how to manage your career 3 years back, which had more than 50,000 views there. Huh? Is that right? Okay, yeah. It was wonderful. So I think technology has managed help Shiv make many of us Ekalavyas as aspiring Arjunas. So thanks, Shiv, for that. The other aspect about Shiv is that his clarity of thought and communication. I've observed him closely a few months back when he recorded his speech for the students' convention. It's quite amazing that he's so meticulous, so well prepared, and everything he does is so meticulous. So the Dronacharya in him is again there. He is very focused and hits his target with perfection. Archana and Dronacharya rather than the Guru this time. So I think all in all, Shiv has been a great inspiration and influence to generation of managers and entrepreneurs. Thank you, Shiv, for that. This specific book is a distillation of all his wisdom on how to manage a career. And it tells people, it talks about 10 dilemmas. And these are dilemmas many of us in our own individual capacities face. And there could be thousands of them. So through this book, Shiv, you managed to solve the dilemmas of maybe lakhs of people in each of those categories. Thank you for that. I think this evening is going to be very thought-provoking and useful to all of us. Welcome, Shiv. Congratulations on your book and thanks for accepting our invitation to be here, Shiv. MMA is honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly, for the brief welcome address. Indeed, privilege. The program for this evening briefly is we'll launch the book and Mr. Shivakumar. I think we also have with us Mr. Balaraman, a mentor and the past president of MMA, who joined us on Zoom. He will be also addressing the audience on his insight on the theme of the book. And this is what, and as usual, all the viewers watching this program, please do share your questions and I'll pick them up and pass it on to the distinguished panelists, and including Mr. Shivakumar. They'll be more than happy to reply to all your questions. And all the viewers watching, sitting here hybrid, if you have any question, we'll pass on the microphone. Please do share your question very briefly, no statements, no lectures, because it's a pandemic time. We are very short of time and we should do that, and really appreciate your cooperation in this regard. Now, coming to this evening, before I will request Shivakumar to launch the book official, let me briefly introduce all the distinguished panelists on the stage, including Mr. Shivakumar. My privilege to introduce Mr. Shivakumar. Shiv is popularly known as, is currently the Group Executive President of Aditya Birla Group. Prior to this, he was the Chairman and CEO of Pepsi, and before that, he was in Nokia as the CEO of India of later emerging markets. She worked in HUL, and he has also worked over 50 brands in his career and had many business transformations. He's a past president of All India Management Association and past chairman of Advertising Standard Council of India. I had the privilege of closely working with him when he was the president of All India Management Association. She has been awarded many in her career and as a best CEO, best brand leader, best turnaround manager, many of them. He's one of the 20 people in India to have been awarded Distinguished Alumnus Award by both IIT and IIM. Ladies and gentlemen, that round, the big round of applause for Mr. Shivakumar. We also have Mr. Balaraman, who will be talking to us on Zoom. He'll be briefly telling about the thing. Balaraman, you all know, is from Ahmedabad, MD Ponds, former MD of Ponds, former export director of Hindustan Unilever, and currently on the director of TVS, Indian Nippon Electrical. And he also, as I mentioned, is a past president of MMA, not once, 2 years. Then Ballu, popularly known as Ballu, is Bala is over 3 decades of experience in high-tech industry and is co-founder, president of Concurrent Solutions since 1999. And he is also steering this organization and on retirement technology, and he's launched core retirement solutions to suit enterprise technology solutions for pension providers in the US. Then let me have the privilege of introducing our other distinguished panelists for this evening, Asha Unnikrishnan. And Asha started her career in Madras, holding various positions in finance, manufacturing, and marketing. Before moving to the US, where she was in marketing communication for several years, she is now a consultant and also focused on community services. Incidentally, she is also Shivakumar's batchmate, but both IIT Madras and also IIM Kolkata. Thank you, madam. Very warm welcome to you. It's a privilege to have you with us. Let me also welcome our distinguished members of the managing committee. Ms. Shankar is here. And also we have past presidents of MMA here and one of the very senior past presidents, Mr. Unnikrishnan. Thank you, sir. We greatly acknowledge your presence today. It's a privilege. And Ranganathan, again, past president of MMA. And there's so many well-wishers, supporters, Ramraj, Shankar, there are so many of them here. It's really heartening to know that so many of us come forward to attend this hybrid program. Now coming, you're all waiting for the most awaited moment for this evening. I will now request Mr. Shivakumar to officially release the book and address the audience, and may I request please do us the honor of releasing the book, sir. I will request Balaraman to show the books from wherever you are, sir. Show the book from there. Thank you so much, Shiv, for choosing MMA and also doing us the honor to release the book on MMA. I'm quite sure the right choice for MMA to have done this today. And now I request Mr. Shivakumar to please address the audience, and thereafter I request Mr. Balaraman to speak. And Mr. Shivakumar.
I'll just say a few words, nothing more, and then I'll leave it to Ballu and Asha. The first thing is the book was released online on January 14th and in physical outlets on Feb 14th. This is the only book launch I'm doing. I've not done a physical launch anywhere. And Captain was very insistent that I come and do this. So that's why I've done it. We did a virtual launch with IMA, with Rekha and gang about 2 weeks ago. So this is the one and only book launch. Thank you very much, Captain, for that honor. And I can't say no to him. He's done such fantastic work as the LMA here. Okay, so thank you very much for coming in here. It's a pleasure to do this. And more important to my friends here, Mali, as well as people I've known for many years, my classmates, Ballu and Asha. Hopefully we'll have an engrossing discussion through the evening. And thank you to all the presidents of MMA. Here, the Shankar, and of course, our inspiration from IIM Calcutta, Ramraj and Mr. Unnikrishnan, whose name I always saw on the board of IMA as one of the past presidents. I was the 7th or 6th multinational past president of All India Management Association. And I think Mr. Unnikrishnan was one of the first in 1981. I was much later. Okay. So thank you very much, all of you, for being here. Okay. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Shiv. I know you have kept reserved all your inputs for the actual discussion. Now it's my proud privilege to request Mr. Balaraman to share his insights on the theme of the book as a distinguished guest of honor for this evening. Over to you, Mr. Balaraman.
Good evening. I actually faced a dilemma today, and I struggled to make the right choice. And what is the dilemma? The dilemma was that Shiv had written an excellent book titled Reflections a few years ago, and I had been fascinated by that book and very impressed, and I keep reading it again and again. The dilemma was, is the new book better than the old, or is the old book better than the new? Thinking further, I realized that it did not end there. What am I most fond of? The reflections, the right choice, or am I fond of the author Shivakumar? So this became a trilemma from a dilemma. From a trilemma, it went on to becoming a quadrilemma, because there could be a new book from Shiv sometime very soon. So as you can see, I had to make the right choice, and I thought I will come to the author, which is Shivakumar. Shiv, you have come to Chennai, and everyone in Chennai has one dilemma all the time, which is, do I stay in Chennai with my people and work here, or do I go to Bombay or to United States? Do I put career first, or do I put family first? And you will see a number of people who have put family first in Chennai. You meet them. you will find that many of them are brilliant, but if only they had gone out of Chennai, they would have been global leaders like you are. And Shiv, it's very, very appropriate you came today because tomorrow is Shiv Ratri and today is Shiv Din, your day. Very appropriate. And I have further dilemmas. I have a dilemma thinking about what will be your future. What will you choose? Will you become a professor because you love teaching? Or will you become, with all your popularity like Amitabh Bachchan and an endorser of fast-moving consumer goods on television and now social media? Or will you, like M.G. Ramachandran, become a political leader? Now, how will you make this the right choice? I am waiting very eagerly to find out. And thank you, Shiv. I just try to make it very light. There is a lot of things that one can say. I'm extremely fond of you. It's been my life's good luck that we became good friends. And may I thank you for agreeing to release your book in Madras Management Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Balaraman. Mr. Shiv, we'll request you to take it forward. All yours, Mr. Shiv. Asha.
The next part of the evening is a conversation with Shiv. I said the next part of this evening is a conversation with Shiv where we hope to talk about the book to some extent, as well as whet your appetite to read it and give you some insights into Shiv the person, as different from the corporate wonderkind that everybody knows him as. I mean, he has been compared to every celestial being there is in terms of his achievements. So I think the makeup of this little panel is probably a dead giveaway, but we've been chosen more to talk about Shiv the person, bring him down to earth to some extent, and hopefully let you understand the person behind the brand. Just the introduction to his book is packed with so much advice that there is, for example, that there's no one size fits all manual for your career, the importance of timing, the need for maturity, and so many more nuggets that then lead to the 10 dilemmas that he has explored in a great deal of detail. So we will endeavor to keep this conversation on the shorter side and hope this will stimulate a very lively Q&A session with Shiv afterwards. And the way we're going to do it, I think Balu and I are kind of going to tag team him, and so that he doesn't get too comfortable with one of us talking to him. So Balu, maybe you should start.
Thank you, Asha. Good evening to everybody, and thanks for the opportunity to share the dais with one of our celebrity classmates. I keep saying we are like the moon's reflective of the sun's light always. So thank you, Shiv, for also suggesting us. So I'll start with actually the target audience for the book. Who should be reading the book? Well, an obvious answer, of course, is students who are graduating and looking to make a career, making choices, and also executives and senior management professionals who are looking to further their careers and leave a legacy. They are obviously the target that meets the eye. But as I was reading it, one of the things that struck me was that as business leaders, as well as HR folks, this book gives us an insight into the kind of thought process and the dilemmas that potential new hires or an existing employee face. And it allows us to be a little more empathetic towards them and maybe, thereby sell ourselves a little better to those people. That was something that crossed my mind. So Shiv, my question, in your career, have you used this sensitivity or empathy in your working career, and give us some examples?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Asha and Ballu, for that. So the thing is, you're right. The book is for anybody in any sector who starts from possibly a junior level and wanting to move up to the senior most level in that institution or organization or government or whatever you want to define it as. I start by defining a dilemma. And I remember when I was thinking of the book, I thought of career temptations. And I remember, in Chennai, being in Indra's house over a cup of tea, and we were tossing around the thing. And then I recognized that temptation sounded actually sinful. Okay, a dilemma is one where you have two attractive alternatives. Okay, should I go abroad or should I stay with my current company in the country where I'm doing well? That's a dilemma. Okay, should I switch a job to a better company for a better salary or stay in the current company where I have equity? That's a dilemma. So a dilemma is one where you have two attractive alternatives and then you're forced to choose between two very good alternatives. So that's how I defined it, and that's where I started. Having put the book out now, a friend of mine told me that his wife read the book and his wife said, now I understand what you go through at work. And I promise you that I will be far more supportive of the discussions that we have now than ever before. So that was an unintended consequence of that. Okay. Next is, I've interviewed 24 people in this book to put out their story and what they went through as they faced the dilemma. And all their friends who read the stories or their stories have said, wow, we never knew this about you. This is a completely new facet of you, which we've completely discovered thanks to this book. So that was another offshoot. I think Janak Shah, the director of IIM Udaipur, said this, and he said it nicely. He said, this will really help me understand my students and their fascination with money as a variable compared to anything else. He said, nothing has explained this more simpler than this shift to me, to really understand why the millennials are chasing money at this point of time. So it's had many, many offshoots, but the book is intended for anybody in the course of a career. You go through this dilemma and what's the best way to think about it. And more important, there are real life examples of people who've gone through it from whom you can, take inspiration.
Let's start at the beginning of a career. I mean, all of us having been through management schools, there's always the first question about, okay, what kind of job are you going to apply for? So is that first job the most important step in your life? Is that the first choice that you make? Is it really as much of a make or break situation as people make it out to be? Or can you change your mind at some other point and say, oops, that really wasn't where I should have been? So can you give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think the first job is a very important job, but I wouldn't say it's a make or break. I think you can do a lot more beyond your first job. If you look at campus, whether it's IIT or IIM, especially the business schools, about 50% of people tend to change their jobs within the first 12 months after they finish campus. And a lot of industry says they do that because they are job hoppers, this, that, etc. That is not true at all. That's not the reason. The actual reason, when you dig deep, and I've studied this deeply across Ahmedabad, Udaipur, XLRI, etc., is that placement season in a business school is a lottery. You have a dream job in your mind, but that company doesn't come. You have a dream job on your mind. It's like a T20 match. You're supposed to hit 3 sixes in an over. You can't hit it, full stop. You're supposed to take 2 wickets in the last over or give away 2 runs. It doesn't happen. So it's a lottery. Because it's a lottery, then you say, look, I didn't get the job I wanted. So now can I look around and in the next 1 year, change to something that I want? That's the reason that 50% of MBAs change jobs within the first year after campus. It's not that they want to hop, because placement is a lottery. And I think placement needs to change. That's my submission to you on that. Second, make or break. I think you must always join a company where you maximize 2 things. You're learning, okay, which is absolutely important, and the culture of the company is good. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that I must join a company which gives me the highest salary. I would actually tell you, join a company in your first job which gives you the highest learning, okay, and a very good culture. The multiplier on that 5 years later, 10 years later is humongous. And very few people recognize that, unfortunately, because everybody is in this catch of, let me get 10,000 rupees more and then, move on. That's what it is. Then I would say, where is the first job? Very critical. My experience, purely my experience, I don't have any empirical data to show this to you, Asha. It's my personal experience, is that I've noticed a direct correlation between cynics in an organization and the company or the first boss they had. I see a direct correlation. When they've had a very bad boss or a bad company they started in, they tend to be very cynical about life. And it takes a lot of effort to change their mindset. I've encountered many of them in my career in Hindustan Lever, in Nokia, as well as PepsiCo. And down to the wire, whenever I see a cynic, I ask him, okay, just tell me something about yourself. Whom did you work for? What happened, etc. And then you can trace it back. So if you have a bad boss as your first stint, a guy who adds no value to you, is constantly, bitching about the company, then that's a very bad start. And that's not a good first job. That's what I'm saying.
Shiv, rewinding back to your college days, I remember you were the sports sec of the Students Association at that time, and very active in several games. You represented IMC in cricket, football, tennis. So one key question I have is, how difficult is it to, keep in touch with and pursue these interests once you start working? And, what should be that balance? Should people have other interests to complement their work life?
Yeah, great question, Balu. But I think you forgot hockey. Pradeep Sahadevan was the hockey captain. He'll be insulted if I don't say that I played for him. Hope he's not watching, okay? And the other things you forgot are things like Joka times and something in today's world with International Women's Day. I'll be really ashamed of saying that I was part of the RJTC, okay, which I don't think any editor of I Am Calcutta can ever take ownership of that in today's world. And I must say, it was fun those days, but on reflection, maybe it was not the right thing to do. Okay, so sports and routine. When you're on campus, there's a very clear routine, Balu. You go to class, you come back, at 4:30, people will go to the basketball court or to the tennis court or to the football ground. It's a set routine. When you start work, there is no such routine. Okay, you have classmates of 100 in your batch and 100 in the next batch whom you can choose from and go and play. But at work, you can't put together 11 guys to do anything. Okay, you can't find somebody to go play tennis with. You can't tell people, okay, let's get together, 10 of us, and go for a run, or let's play cricket. It doesn't work. When you're a junior and even a middle manager, your time is not your time. You're pulled into many things, you're asked to do many things, and you end up with endless hours of work. So it's very difficult to find time for physical sport activity, almost next to difficult. But one of the challenges of young managers is that if you look at young managers when they finish from an institute, in the first 2 years, they tend to put on at least 20-30% extra weight. The reason they do that is they binge, they spend late nights, they don't exercise, and that rhythm completely goes off the rhythm they had in college. Okay, and I would actually warn, and that's what I warned in the book also, that take very good care of your health. Okay, whatever you can do, I think you should, do that. And I don't think you can do more than that, given the time constraints. If you're not physically fit, I don't think you'll be mentally alert in a meeting. That's my observation of a number of bosses, a number of colleagues, etc. I've seen many people who've spent late nights in parties or whatever it is, and next morning they're zoned out in a meeting. They're not able to contribute. So if you don't go fully fresh into the workplace almost every day with a spring in your step and a hope in your heart, you're not going to make a difference. So I think keeping physically fit is very important. Now, having said that, you only have 24 hours. You have so much work which occupies your life. You have to make sacrifices. Okay, I used to listen to music. I don't do that anymore. I used to play a lot of sport, as you said. Now I tend to run on a treadmill. That's all I can do. I don't watch movies. At whatever spare time I have, either I'm doing my mail or reading books or something like that. So your balance shifts in terms of your hobbies, co-curricular hobbies, extracurricular hobbies, shifts dramatically once you go past middle management. Okay, and you have to make a sacrifice. There is no choice. There is no alternative. And if somebody says, I want to party till 12 o'clock, I want to do this, I want to do that. I want to give you a story from what Nazir Hussain said about Brian Lara. He said Brian Lara went to a party, came back and slept and got up at 6 o'clock, realized the cricket match was at 11 o'clock. He went and played a round of golf, came back at 9:30, 10. Okay, came into the dressing room. And then the first wicket fell in the first over. So Brian Lara put on his pads and went, and he scored 400. And so the story Nazir Hussain says is only a genius like Lara can do it, but all of us need practice. Okay, so you can't just land up like Lara is my point. You have to sacrifice something. You have to practice your craft.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Staying on cricket, I know that during your Nokia days, you were one of the prime sponsors of Calcutta Knight Riders. And tell us a little bit about your experience working with them, and specifically Shah Rukh Khan as the owner. What was it like? I mean, I know it's got nothing to do with the book, but it'd be nice to know.
Fantastic. You know, very few people know this. Till 2015, when PepsiCo, we terminated the contract with IPL as the title sponsor. From 2008 to 15, those 8 years, I must have been one of 5 people involved with IPL. Me, Sundar, the owners, that's it. Nobody else. Even Lalit Modi was not there. But IPL is a fantastic concept. And I said this then, and I will say it again right now. But for IPL, India cricket would not be where it is. Very few people give it credit. But for IPL. And I said this right in the beginning. I said IPL has revolutionized cricket. It's brought in more women to watch. And it's made the Indian cricket boys fearless. Absolutely fearless. Krishnamacharya Shrikant, Chika, a good friend who lives on the Mahabalipuram High Road, he told me once that, Shiv, Dale Steyn, the best bowler comes in the world, our boys put their left leg out and hit it right over mid-wicket. They would never do that but for IPL. Okay, so IPL has just transformed the mindset. Now back to Nokia and IPL. We had an absolute crisis on our hands with the BL5C product recall on August 14, 2007. And when we had that crisis, we put down 12 things to say, we need to address this crisis. Point number 12 was, if all else fails, let's get a celebrity to endorse the brand. Nokia had never used a celebrity in the world, ever. Nokia just shied away from celebrities. We did that. We resolved the crisis, but we had the budgets. So, and we got Shah Rukh to be the brand ambassador. I'd worked with him in Hindustan Lever. So I said, Shah Rukh, would you do this? He said, I use a Nokia phone, more than happy to do it. We did a great ad with him, which was a very popular ad about Shah Rukh and his 10 years with Nokia. I've spent 10 years. This phone has seen my child being born. I do this with my phone, etc. It was a great commercial, one of the most popular commercials. It went very well. Then Shah Rukh started KKR. He bid for it and he won the bid. Lalit Modi was trying to convince us in Nokia that we should be the title sponsors. And he actually told me, now these are the numbers, I can say it after 10 years or 13 years. At that point of time, the title sponsorship was going for $35 million. Lalit Modi called me. I was in New York that day for a meeting. And he said, Shiv, I'll give it to Nokia for $25 million because you have one of the best brands in the country. Okay. If you're willing to sign on, it's a deal. I said, look, we don't need awareness for this brand. So why would we want to be presenting sponsors of IPL? Then Shah Rukh said, hey, why don't you guys be presenting sponsor of KKR? And that's how the KKR thing happened. And again, sad story. First 2 years, KKR was a disaster. The first match set the tone. Brendan McCullum scored 100 and everybody thought KKR will win. KKR finished, I think, number 5 or 6. Second year, they finished last in South Africa. And when that was over, Shah Rukh actually called through his agent and said, I know the team has done badly. Nokia has taken a big hit in sponsoring us. I'm willing to give 2 days of my time free of cost. So I said, Shah Rukh, that's a very kind offer you make, but our deal is with the team. It has nothing to do with you. If the team has failed, it's failed. And that's the risk we've taken. So let's stay friends and we don't do this. We continued. Then they won in 2012. They won again in 2014. They're a consistently great team. But one of the things I really like about Shah Rukh is that he really gives his sponsors full value for the money. He always bats for his sponsors, always does. He goes the extra mile to ensure that the sponsors have got it right, number one. The second thing is a very bright guy, very bright, very humorous guy, very sharp. I'm absolutely certain, and I've said this many times over, if Shah Rukh had not been a film star, he would have been a CEO somewhere. Very bright guy, very, very talented guy, very quick on the uptake. You can never fox Shah Rukh. Amazing. And he taught me a lot of things. He's one of the guys I've done the maximum number of media conferences with, thanks to KKR. We used to do at least 5 every season. So I must have done some 40, 50 with him. He really taught me, when there's a battery of photographers, how do you look from one end to the other so that you're not clicked either in profile or on straight, etc. How do you do that? These are all small tips, but only a master could do that. And he was fantastic.
So just switching subjects, you just mentioned the RJTC, which for the uninitiated among all of you here was a tradition in Joka and IMC, which would certainly not be tolerated today. But I think in that generation, everybody took it in the spirit it was intended to be in. But that actually leads to the next question, that in this age of social media, can you ever let your guard down? Do you have to think multiple times every time you open your mouth, decide where you're going or who you're seen with? How much has visibility changed you as a person or people around you? And finally, what does all this have to do with the importance of reputation and also authenticity?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And thank you for reminding me about RJTC to hang my head in shame. But anyway, social media is both a boon and a curse. It's a boon because you can network with anybody across the world. I cannot tell you, almost every day, I get 10 to 15 requests for connecting somebody or for a job or whatever it is. It's also a curse that if you don't know how to use it well, it's a problem. And young people certainly don't recognize that. And even some middle to senior managers also don't recognize that, unfortunately. I think the positives end there. The first thing to remember about social media and a digital world is that it does not have an erasable hard disk. Whatever you put in social media, remember, will be remembered for life. Okay, people will never let you forget it. So think many times over before you write whatever you want to write on social media, whether you're cursing a company, cursing somebody, whatever it is. Be very careful of the choice of your language and whatever you're doing and whomever you're, hashtagging, etc. Let me give you my personal example. So Vinay Kamath is not here. In 2013, Vinay Kamath asked me to write an article on the Bharti Walmart split. I wrote the article for Business Line. I argued that it was bad and India would benefit from all the learning from modern trade like Walmart. And next day I was looking at the website of Hindu Business Line and looking at the comments. The first 21 comments were fine. The 22nd comment was, very telling. It said, this is an article written by one MBA for other MBAs. Okay. So whatever your intent, somebody else sees it in a completely different manner. That at least was humorous and fun. The second one was even worse. I have a habit of summarizing books and I put it on LinkedIn, the summaries. I summarized Rajat Gupta's book, Mind Without Fear, ex-McKinsey CEO. And I put it on LinkedIn. I cannot tell you the amount of hate mail I got. People said, Shiv is an Arbit guy, time pass guy. Why is he supporting this criminal? Okay, is he trying to sell the book for him, etc., etc. I've met Rajat Gupta once in my life in ISB when he was a director there and I'd gone to speak. I'd never met him in my life. People don't even know that, but people just trolled me and just bashed me left, right, and center. That didn't stop me from summarizing the next set of books. But all I'm telling you is people sometimes beyond anonymity, people are very brave when they're anonymous on social media. Okay. And sometimes just out of, venting their feelings because you're on the opposite side, they say a number of things. Gaining trust in social media is very difficult. It's not easy. You have to be authentic. So for example, on my LinkedIn profile, anybody who posts a comment on religion, I just take the guy out. That's it. Number one. So you'll see my LinkedIn posts clear of that. Okay. Anything to do with politics, out. I don't engage in that at all. And people send me a lot of books to say, will you read my book and summarize it? I don't do that. I summarize books which I believe the audience will want. So I'm not a peddler of books. So I try to keep a certain standard of the books I do. So you can only build, trust, Asha, if you're authentic. And the only thing I'll tell you always is stay authentic. If you ever are posting something which is tough or nasty or critical, okay, step back for 5 minutes, reflect on it and ask yourself, should I really do this? And many times that mood will pass and you can junk it. Okay. But once you post, you can't pull it back. Remember that. Once you post, it's done and dusted. So stay authentic if you really want trust in the social world.
There was a former boss of mine who insisted on what he called the 24-hour test, especially if there was an email or anything that made you angry. He says, sleep on it.
Yeah.
Or if you can give it 24 hours, do that before you answer, because whatever you say before that will come back to bite you in the behind. But staying on, as I said, non-typical subjects not typically covered in the book, what about the importance of friendships as you progress in life and your career? Are people doomed to go through their careers seeing their peers as competition? How can you stay friends without letting relative success or failure get in the way? Can you just stay true friends, not have to worry about the fact that person A is a CEO, person B might have chosen to do something else, and person C somehow just didn't get to where he or she wanted to go?
Yeah, so I would say that, you should never see your peers as competition. That I think is wrong, and I'll explain why. Okay. Most people don't see peers as competition when they are in junior management, because most people believe that they will get their due at the same time as somebody else. And even as far as middle management, people don't see each other as competitors, but they start seeing each other as competitors beyond middle management because the pyramid gets steeper. Okay, that's when it really happens, Asha. Sometimes the company pits people against each other, and that's a bad company to work in, when a company puts one against the other. Sometimes bosses put one against the other. Okay, for example, when I was in Hindustan Lever, we had a boss in one of the divisions I worked in who used to perennially put his management team one against the other. And for 6 months, it was absolute hell. So one day, a bunch of us, 3-4 of us who used to report to him, we got together and said, hey, what are we doing this for? We want this company to succeed. We want the business to succeed. Why the hell are we scrapping with each other? So after that, we entered into a pact between the 4 of us. We said, before every management team meeting, which we used to have once a month, we said the previous night, the 4 of us will go out for dinner, we'll resolve all the issues, and then go into the meeting fresh next day. We did that systematically for the next year. The business results improved. The boss recognized that he could not play one against the other. But more important, we became damn good friends. And even till today, we stay very good friends. People like you, Ballu, Asha, I've stayed with friends with you for long. And that's the only way to be. The mistake people make with friends and network is we tend to reach out when we need help. That's not a network. Okay, that's a deal. Can you help me, Ballu, with this? That's a deal. It's not a network. So what you have to do systematically from the time you start work is to build your network, your colleagues, your ecosystem, everybody. I've built enormous network with my competitors too, not just in the company itself. And when you really need it, that network will back you. Okay, don't start a network or a relationship saying it is a quid pro quo. I give you something, you give me something. That type of network never works. That's what my personal experience is there. And the last point, why people see peers as competitors or whatever, is because most people tend to work in life at a relative level. So I am sitting next to you and I say, Asha is running at 40 kilometers an hour. Let me run at 50. I'm better than her. Because my reference point in my career is I need to be better than somebody who's at the next table. That's a lose-lose equation. Why? 5 years from now, I go for an interview or I go to the industry and I meet Ballu, who's been running at 80 kilometers per hour. Suddenly, I'm physically unfit because of I have benchmarked to running at 45 and 50. And then I say, my God, game's up. What have I done with my career? So my submission to you, if you really want to be friends with your colleagues, aim to be the best absolute. If you're a sales manager, try to be the best sales manager. You're a brand manager, try to be the best brand manager. You're a marketing manager, try to be the best at it. You're a supply chain manager, be the best at it. If you're the best at it, you will never fight at a relative level. Okay. And I want to give you a story of how much sacrifice is needed if you want to be the best. Gary Kirsten and Paddy Upton became coaches of the Indian team for 2011. When they came here, they said, the Indian stars are stars. We can't teach them what to do. These are big guys. So the first thing they said was, as coaches, practice is optional. We will not have practice sessions. Practice is optional. But if you want to practice, hey, if you want to practice, Yuvraj, tell us what you want to practice. Do you want to practice the cover drive? Do you want to practice the straight drive? Do you want to practice the hook? So we'll prepare. Okay. So they gave this optional. And then Paddy Upton said this. He said, the guy who asked for the most practice, believe it or not, was Sachin Tendulkar. Nobody else. Now, ask yourself the question based on what I just told you. That guy being the best batsman after 23 years in test cricket and international cricket still wants to do very well. He's benching himself against an absolute best. He's not saying I need to be better than the next guy. So that's the mindset needed if you don't want to treat your colleagues as competitors. Be the very best. And for the very best, the only thing which can stop you guys is bad luck. And it can happen to anybody. Nokia was bad luck, full stop. Happened, so what? Nothing wrong. But if you try to be the absolute best, I guarantee you, you'll have a good career.
Thank you, Shiv. Wonderful messages right there. So you talked about a boss of yours sometime during the last answer. And my next question segues into that. How, I mean, a lot of people in their lives work with different types of bosses. And the challenge really is, supplementing and complementing your boss so that together you form a crack team, so to speak. So your thoughts on it, especially in terms of how to handle a bad boss. One is to quit and move away, but is there any other way?
Okay. One of the most often asked questions wherever I go across the world, not just here in India, is one, how do I manage my career? Obvious question. But second is, how do I handle a bad boss? Believe it or not. This is the second most question. I haven't talked about it in this book, but maybe one day I'll write about it. It's a huge dilemma. You can never choose the boss, you're going to work for, etc. It's just not there. I've had my share of bad bosses. There's no, denying that. However, once you think about it, the bad boss is there for a reason. See, whether you like it or not, the company has employed him. Whether you like it or not, the company has promoted him. They put him in that position of, whatever influence he has, good or bad. So there are many bad bosses around, and you just need to watch out for them. Look at a very simple equation, 2x2 matrix, which is what most MBAs use as staple diet. Look at on one axis, your strengths and your weaknesses, and on the other axis, the boss's strength and your weaknesses. Think of the box where your strength is the boss's strength. That's a loose box because your boss will always think that he's better than you on that strength. He will never say that he's weaker than you. Then go to the other box where your strength is your boss's weakness. You have to be very careful there. How do you coach the boss without meaning to coach him? Okay, and you'll find that situation. The next box is where you have a weakness, which is your boss's strength, which is a fantastic box to be in. Okay, because you can really learn from your boss. You can genuinely, learn from him and genuinely tell him you're damn good at this. And the last box is your weakness and the boss's weakness are the same. Then the company is doomed because both of you are contributing something, bad to the company. Okay, that's the way I really want you to think about it. The worst boss to work for is an insecure and incompetent boss. And I've had a few of them. I think I've had 15, 16 bosses in my career. There are 2-3 guys, absolutely incompetent and insecure. What are the signals they give you? I had a boss, if I sent him a 3-paragraph mail on something, he will say, can you summarize it and send it to me? And I'd say, what the hell is the company paying you for? If you send him one sentence, he'll say, summarize it and send it to me. Basically, these are lazy guys. They just haven't focused on getting what is right. Okay. And the only way, I think, you have to be at your best. Remember, when you work for a bad boss, if you're good, the bad boss will always try and find negatives in your approach. So you cannot give him the pleasure of finding something wrong with you. Okay, so you have to work doubly hard. That is a challenge. However, in today's age, what I find is when people are tough, when a boss is tough, young people don't like it. The most I have learned is when I've had tough bosses. I must admit that. Because a tough boss makes you think, which is a huge value. Because the most critical skill we need is critical thinking. And when a tough boss makes you think, you should actually reward him. You should say, thank you for making me think. But we don't take that in our stride. We want boss to be nice to us. We want him to be kind to us. We want him to give us lots of shabashi and say, you're a fantastic guy. But the best bosses in my career have been tough bosses, but fair bosses. Okay, if you can see that your boss is tough but fair, work for him and walk behind him.
Flipping the question over, right? I mean, as a boss, you have different types of subordinates. And, how quick should one label a subordinate as competent, incompetent, or whatever? And how do you deal with somebody you feel is not quite up to the mark as a subordinate? Do you really take to coaching and pull them up, or do you fire them? Various options. So what would your, what would be the right choice?
A tough question. I've had many bad subordinates. I've been a general manager for eons. I've had many, many bad subordinates. What are the common things that I've noticed about bad subordinates? They tend to place themselves higher than their team. That's the first signal I always look for. Okay, they will say, I'm A+, my team is actually a bunch of A- guys. That's the first signal that this guy is way above his league. Okay, he thinks of himself as a superstar. That's the first one. Second one is when the guy has a very poor value system. When the guy cannot give credit to people. There are some people who are so cussed, they cannot give credit to their team. They want all the appropriation of credit only at their desk. The third type of bad subordinate is somebody who actively tells his people, don't send information up beyond me, which is even worse. So the only way I have found to deal with this when I've had bad subordinates is to actually engage with people below him in a direct, open manner, clarify my expectations, and tell them what I clearly want and I don't want. That's all you can do. Okay, that's the thing. And if the bad subordinate performs well but has bad values, you tolerate him. If he performs badly, then you have no choice but to give up on him. I would say, look, I don't think it works. The other side is people who are very good value system, genuine, but are not coping in the job. Okay, those are the people, to your question, that you can coach. Okay, you can tell them, hey, have you thought about this? Maybe this capability, maybe you need this coach, or you need to do this, or you can go for a training program, etc., etc. Those are people you need to nurture. But the one condition I always look for, Ballu, is this guy or girl a company man? If the person is a company man, back him. Company man means putting the company first ahead of everything else. That's the kind of subordinate you need in a company.
It has really been all about making the right choices. In fact, starting from the introduction right up to chapter 10. Now, can we talk a bit about wrong choices? I mean, what about people might have made the wrong choices for various reasons? There might have been circumstances where they didn't have the right advice. They thought they were making the right decision. It turned out to be wrong. So do you make peace with those wrong choices? Or do you scurry around like mad trying to get back on track?
Yeah, great question. Again, I think all of us make wrong choices. I've made wrong choices. Everybody does it. It's natural. But I think the moment you make a wrong choice, if you recognize it's a wrong choice, I think it's better to cut your losses. Okay, John Harvey Jones, the CEO of ICI, I remember reading his book. He said, the moment you see something is wrong in a company or whatever it is, cut your loss fast, because it doesn't get better with time. So cut your losses. So what are the type of wrong choices that people make? Very early in life, one of the big wrong choices people pick is debt. Okay, EMI. Okay, they pick EMI and suddenly they see that their EMI is 25% of take-home salary. Okay, they get scared. Then they try to get a job with 10,000 rupees more because they want to make the 25%, 10% at the earliest. So being in debt is one of the biggest mistakes or a wrong choice which people make. Why do they do that? Hurried aspiration. They want the next big holiday because they've seen their friends on Facebook. They want the next big car. They want the next big electronic gadget, etc. And they're in debt up to their eyeballs, which is very bad. That's a big, serious one. The second wrong choice people make is setting an artificial target. I want to be a VP by the time I'm 40. I want to be a CEO by the time I'm 42 or whatever it is. I want to earn 1 crore of rupees by the time I'm X or Y or Z. I saw one of my bosses in Hindustan Lever who quit at 40. So then I asked him, why are you quitting? He said, I want to be a VP by the time I'm 40. This company has come. It was a small company. And this guy was doing well. He had a big job. And he went and joined that company. Within 2 years, that company got sold to somebody else. He went to another smaller company. In 4 years' time, he didn't have a job. And he became a consultant. Okay. And then he's been on that consultant circuit all through his career after that. So these are the mistakes that people tend to make, and you really have to be extremely careful. If you made a wrong choice, say sorry, cut your loss, come back. I think that's far better. And, the best example I'll give you is Nokia, 2013. I think all of us recognize that Nokia didn't have a future. And all of us had worked very hard to build the company from $300 million to $4 billion and activity from India to 10, etc. All of us left Nokia. I was the last of the senior managers to leave. But the great thing is everybody who left Nokia showed resilience and came back. None of us crumbled. We maybe stayed 1 year extra. I think I stayed an extra year or 18 months out of pure emotion, which some people said was a wrong choice. But that was my commitment to the company. So you have to, have the resilience and say, yes, I made a wrong choice. Doesn't matter. Let me come back to the mainstream. Have the courage to admit it and move forward.
And would you say that for people even at a much more junior level, would potential employers look kindly at someone who's actually admitted to having made the wrong choice?
Absolutely. I think, the great thing about today is that people need talented people in their company. We have too many people, but very little quality. So people always want the best in the company. So if you're a talented person, you're top of the heap and you're consistently learning, why won't people want you? Ask that question.
So let's get to something about you now. Right through your book, you have talked with great fondness of mentors like Ram Charan, for example. Is that a role you see in your future? I mean, we all know of your commitment to being an educator, starting with very, very early in your career. So I think even for the next several years, young managers are going to get the benefit of your experience and knowledge. But do you see yourself as a mentor to the next generation of CEOs or people at the board level?
Yeah. So, mentorship is a funny thing. I always thought that you went and chose a mentor. Suppose I wanted Captain as a mentor. I just went to him and said, okay, be my mentor. Never works like that. Mentors pick you. You cannot pick a mentor. A mentor picks you when you are showing commitment to the company, commitment to the values of the company, and you show a certain degree of excellence in whatever you're trying to do. Then a mentor picks you. Why is that? It is so because the mentor doesn't want his choice to go wrong. If he picks the wrong person, then they don't want to be blamed for that wrong choice. So a mentor picks you. Ram Charan, I first encountered him in 1996 when he came to teach us at the Unilever General Manager's course in 4 Acres, UK. And he's been my mentor ever since. I've kept in touch with him. A mentor tells you the toughest things, which is in your interest. I remember in 2012, December, I was flying to Delhi from Dubai. I bumped into Ram Charan in the airport. So he said, okay, let's sit down and have dinner. And he said, Shiv, I think you need to leave Nokia. It has no future. I was absolutely stunned. It's the first time anybody had told me. It's like somebody telling me you're sacked. I said, but why are you saying that? He says, look, I know Silicon Valley. I know what Apple's going to do. You have no chance. It's time that you moved on. And you have a career ahead of you, maximize it. Now imagine only a mentor who has your best interests at heart will tell you that. Nobody else will tell you that. Okay, so I think value the mentors you have. If you do good work, I think mentors will automatically pick you.
Wonderful, Shiv. Just past the top of the hour. Thank you for this foremost section of interaction. We just loved it. Now, I think Group Captain Jayaraman is to step in now to orchestrate the Q&A from the audience.
Yeah, thank you.
Group Captain, over to you.
Thank you, Shiv, for the fascinating evening. Everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Sorry? Yes. We have over 1,600 viewers watching the program live. So
Thank you.
The recording will be kept. It will go to a couple of more thousands. Thank you so much. That's a pull for us. We have a number of questions. Number of questions from Zoom, as well as I got questions from YouTube and Facebook. The choice is the people who are sitting here, hybrid, they come here. The first choice we'll give to them to ask the questions. And the first choice I have to give to Chairman Board of Governors. Otherwise I'll be in trouble. Mr. Mali, please, your question.
Thanks. Very fundamental question. How important is an MBA? Basically, okay. And what is its relevance? Because you have people who work for 2-3 years in tech, 5-6 years in tech, and do senior back disillusioned because they go back to the same job sometimes. And the generalist was a specialist because an MBA is seen as a generalist course. This is something which is, I think, watching students go through this dilemma in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's a whole system, but the whole system will change. One of the big shifts which I am seeing right now, thanks to EdTech, is an emphasis on skills as opposed to a degree. In the past, India has valued degrees. I think now we are valuing skills more. Take coding for an example. Nobody is bothered whether you come from a Punjab university or a Tuticorin university or a Gauhati university, as long as you're a good coder. I think more and more specialist skills are coming in. The whole horizontal layer of digitization is all about skill set. It's not about a degree. There's no degree in digital as of now anywhere in the country. So I think the more you start valuing skills, you will see that. We see people coming for an 11-week program willing to pay 2 lakhs to pick up that skill. Okay, data science, being a data scientist is one of the most sought after skills and being paid for. 11 weeks, 1.5 to 2 lakhs of rupees. Okay, so that's the kind of money people are willing to pay because that is giving them a job as opposed to a degree. And you see a plethora of edtech companies, that's what they're focused on.
The MBA degree, or your views on that?
I think the MBA degree needs to reinvent itself. I think it has gone through many cycles. It certainly needs to reinvent itself much more.
Thank you. Anybody from the audience a question before I move on to the social media portals? Anybody else? Yeah, before the question, let me also tell you the books are available outside at a very special rate for you. The author has kindly agreed to autograph the book. I think it will be a very price portion for you. Please do buy the book, get it autographed, and also read it again. Over to you.
Sir?
Yes, Mani, I can hear you.
Apart from talent and hard work, do you think luck plays a major role in one's career?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Luck plays a very important role, never underestimated. Okay, but here's what I say. If you prepare well, you'll get the lucky breaks. Okay, if you don't prepare, you won't get the lucky breaks, which is what I said earlier. Don't plan to be something at 40. Ask yourself, if I want to be CEO, what are the characteristics required to be a successful CEO? There might be strategy, there might be vision, there might be communication, etc., etc. Rank yourself against that and say, how do I improve? Have a prep plan to improve that. If you prepare, opportunities will come your way. Okay, so both luck and bad luck. And Nokia was bad luck, right? Since you were in Nokia, we went and chose Windows operating system when we could have chosen Android. If we had chosen Android, you and I wouldn't be in the companies we are in today. We'd still be in Nokia. Okay, so it happens.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions? I see a lot of discussion, students. Maybe you are discussing the question.
Good evening.
No question? Okay, little later.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, please. Please go ahead.
Thank you. It's really very interesting to listen to all of you. As a career coach, I have a question for you, sir. My question is that, how do I evaluate? You brought in very good factors about the dilemmas that you have brought in. It is really very good. I want to understand, as a layman, what are the parameters I can bring in to understand a right choice? Is there some parameters that you would like to guide us, as these could be some way of looking at it for making a right choice? We do make a decision-making grid and we come to a conclusion, but is that the right choice? How could I look at it from an overview? If you show light on that, students would be benefited a lot and many of us would be benefited a lot. Thank you so much.
That's a very fair and good challenge and a good question. So in the book, in each dilemma, I've written about 2,000-3,000 words from my personal experience about that dilemma, what I have seen. Then we have interviews with these 24 people, depending on the dilemma. And at the end of each chapter, I've said 5 takeaways or watchouts about this dilemma. I do not offer a prescriptive answer to any dilemma. Let me explain why. It's because the dilemma you are in is specific to the individual. It's specific to the context, but most important, it's specific to your risk-taking ability. So let me give you a simple one. Let's take entrepreneurship. Okay. So this afternoon, I was having a chat with one of my Nokia colleagues. He said, Shiv, on the one hand, I can go back to corporate life. I have a steady job. On the other hand, I want to do entrepreneurship. What would you advise? I said, take the next 10 years. Okay, what will your earning stream, what will XYZ be on this side? And you go as an entrepreneur, what will your earning stream be? Next, ask your family what type of lifestyle they want. Okay, and will this direction or this direction help you do that? And I said, think about it when you're 55. Do you think people will ask you to come on, be on a board if you go down the second route or if you go down the first route? Okay, at the end of the day, you consider all this, it's your risk appetite, whether you want to take it or not. Okay, once you take that, then only history will tell you whether it's right or wrong. I give you a very personal example. When I left FMCG and joined technology, 99% of the people said it was the wrong decision. I cannot tell you. And so you get scared. And for a moment, I was flummoxed. People said, you know what, your strength is FMCG. Why are you doing this, etc. Then I sat back and asked myself, are they being correct? And they were not being right. My strength is not FMCG. My strength is innovation. My strength is working with people. My strength is leadership. If those skill sets are relevant, then I go to that industry wherever and I can still make them relevant. If I get boxed in by FMCG, I'm extremely safe, extremely comfortable, and I would have had a particular type of career. Okay, but my learning wouldn't have been as rapid. Okay, so that's a risk I took, which 99% of the people said was wrong. Okay, so it boils down to whether you have the appetite to actually, look at the dilemma in the face and say, okay, I've considered everything. This is what I'm going to do.
Thank you, sir. It is a question from Mr. Raghu from Pondicherry. What do you want to know is, I'm quite certain that I'm overqualified for the job that I am currently working, and I get underpaid for the same. However, I stay here to gain full-time experience. How long do you think an average person like me should stay in such a job for experience sake?
I think any job you should stay for at least 3 to 5 years. That's what I recommend. Every job I've done, I've stayed more than that. And the reason I say that is you tend to learn what's happening in the job or the job description in the first year. Then you put a plan and then you deliver it. At the end of 3 years, the company also knows whether you're contributing or not and what your level of contribution is. And equally, you can judge whether the company is taking care of you for your contribution. So I think a 3 to 5 year tenure is good. And that's what I would recommend.
Okay. Here's a question from Zoom, Mr. Murugan Kupuswamy. What do you want to know? At the beginning of the career, which is the right choice? Bad company, good boss, or good company, bad boss?
Given the way you put it, I would always choose a good company with a bad boss, because a good company will always remove the bad boss, or the bad boss will be around for a year or two. Fundamentally, the company, as long as the company is good, you will be fine. If you're in a bad company with a good boss, then you will only stay as long as the boss is there. After that, you're left to yourself. You're at the deep end of the well. So I would not do that. Always join a good company. And a good company I define as a company where you can learn and the culture is good. That's my definition.
Excellent. Again, a question from Zoom as Mr. Karthikeyan. What do you want to know? Not everybody gets a good mentor. Please, can you share with us how to go about to get a good mentor?
I think I described that. You have to be very good at what you do. Okay, if you're maxing your job, pacing it very well, etc., automatically people will reach out and put a hand on your shoulder and say, hey, you know what? If you need any help, I'm around. Okay, that's the only thing. You have to show great commitment to the company and your job. That's the only way people pick mentors. Whether it's politics, whether it's institutions, whether it's industries, history always shows us that.
Excellent. So here is a question from Mr. Stephen from Dubai. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. Would you suggest me to quit my well-paying corporate job and venture into entrepreneurship now? If not, why not? I think you asked his wife.
So I've said, don't start entrepreneurship when you just get out of an institute. You have no sense of how a company runs. You just don't know how to balance a balance sheet. You don't know how to raise capital. You don't know how to build a team. You know none of that. So I think being a first-time entrepreneur straight out of college is a no-no in my book. But there are better entrepreneurs here. You should connect them to this thing. I know that I'll be a very bad entrepreneur. I'm very good working for somebody else. I need to recognize that. So that's why I've never tried entrepreneurship, never even thought about it, even for a minute. Okay, so I would say if you have 5-6 years of work experience, and you think that you know how to, you understand the levers of how to run a company, then do take the plunge. The danger with entrepreneurship, which I see certainly in India, is that there are too many copycat ideas. Okay, ideas which have no differentiation, zero. If you just do the same as what everybody does, then the guy with the lowest price will always get the deal. Okay, that's no fun. The second thing is a bunch of people get together. So it's like me, Asha, and Ballu sitting over a drink and saying, let's become partners. And one of the biggest reasons why entrepreneurial ventures fail is fights amongst partners. And the reason is they don't have a code of saying, if we have a problem, guys, a debate or a disagreement, how will we resolve it? Okay, they don't put that down right in the front. So everybody is right because, friendship is friendship, but then once you start a business as partners, it's a very different game. And people underestimate what it takes to be partners compared to what it takes to be friends. So that's what I would want.
Super. Here's a question from Mr. Pankaj from Jaipur. He said, I'm 43 years old, a family man working in the entertainment industry, and due to the pandemic, I've been jobless for a while. Would you suggest switching industries or wait for the old normal to get so that I can back to the place where I'm quite confident in?
Yeah, I would say the entertainment industry, more than any other industry, is going digital very, very fast. Okay, I think one of the things I think everybody in the entertainment industry needs is to reskill themselves digitally. The entertainment industry is one where legacy doesn't matter. Nobody expects you to stay for 10 years in any entertainment business. You look at the CEOs, you look at everybody there. Okay, people move on in every year or 2 years. So reskill yourself to the future, and since you've been there for a long time, make the most out of it.
Thank you. We have got another 5 minutes. We'll try and squeeze in as many questions as possible. Anybody from the audience would like to question? Can you please pass on the microphone, please? Anga, you would like to ask a question? Yeah. Yes, please, go ahead.
I think it's a major dilemma which everybody will face. I have a good boss, and the boss moves to another place, and he asked me to come.
I can't hear you. If you just put the mic down a little.
I have a good boss who has mentored me, all those things. He suddenly quits and goes to another company. He calls me. How to take a decision on that?
Short answer, no. Remember, let me explain why. It's a very, very good question. Thank you for asking that. Here's the thing. In this whole exercise is a concept called a personal brand. When we start our careers, we have high energy. When we are 25, we have 100 energy. When we are 60, we have 100 wisdom. The ideal combination of energy and wisdom is about 40-42. That's when all the young fast track guys get their breaks as CEOs, etc. Okay, you have to build your personal brand. If you're seen as your boss's tail, that's the worst thing for you. Because when you go to that new company, nobody will respect you for your talent. They will see you as this guy has bought his entourage here. So every company I've gone to, I have never taken anybody from my previous company, ever. Okay, because I think you have to be absolutely clear that people have to stand up on their own feet. You must build your brand. Okay, the boss has gone, fair enough. You say goodbye, okay, and still stay friends with him, etc. That's fine. But don't follow your boss. It just tells me that you're not thinking for yourself, not building your brand, and not confident of your own abilities.
Just an addition to it.
So I think there's another gentleman waiting for you. Okay, go ahead.
When a boss brings a set of people from other company to you, and when one brings
I agree. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Here's the thing. That system of the boss bringing his bunch of people is a very American system. In America, okay, the role of a board is to hire and fire the CEO. So suppose we are a board, we bring Ballu in as CEO, he can bring whomever he wants. It's his choice. Because that's the concept of freedom we give the CEO as a board. So Ballu will bring captain, he'll bring Asha, he'll bring money, etc. His chance. As long as he does well, we are fine. But the moment we are unhappy with Ballu, we'll fire him. And when he goes, all these people also will go. That system understands that very well. The Indian system doesn't understand that. Okay. And I would actually say this to every boss. Taking people from your old company into the new company is the surest way of, bringing down your own reputation. It is a signal to people to say, I don't trust this company. I don't trust the people who work in this company. I don't think they are capable, and hence I'm bringing my own gang. That's not good.
Actually, one question. How much of your choices of a career, of study, and all that you have gone through is something that you plan for, or is it pure serendipity most of it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. You can't plan for it. You can prepare for it, is what I've said. If you prepare for it, it comes. I can tell you, when I was working in Levers, I just wanted to be a good marketing guy. That's it. Even on campus, I read everything about marketing, blah, blah, etc. I just wanted to be damn good in marketing. Forget everything else. One day in 2000, and I recount that in the book, Hindu Business Line put out an article in 2000, 2001, saying who are the next set of CEOs in this country. And they went and interviewed about, I think, 20 people in Bombay, some senior managers. And my name was top of the list. I had never thought of myself as a CEO. I said, wow, other guys think that I can be a CEO. I have not thought about it myself. I was just thinking of myself as being a damn good marketing director. If I became marketing director, I thought I had achieved nirvana. Then I said, if other people have this confidence, then maybe I should think about it. Maybe then I need to develop that side of me. And that's how it happened. Okay. And each of the breaks you take, some is luck, some is network, some is your performance, etc. Some go your way, some don't go your way. That's okay. In the jobs I've stayed in, I had tons of jobs from competing organizations when I was in Hindustan Lever. I said no to all of them, okay, because I didn't want to join a competitor. When I left Nokia, I had tons of offers again from tech companies. Again, I said no. I had offers from other types of companies too. Okay, so you have to decide what you want to do. Sometimes when you desperately want a job, you don't get that job which you want. Sometimes when you don't want the job, you get tons of offers. Life is funny. So in that sense, what you said is absolutely right. It's, if you're prepared, it will come your way. But the one cardinal rule I would put for you is that whatever you do it authentically, because there will be supporters, there will be detractors. As long as you have more supporters than detractors, I think you'll be absolutely, fine in your career. Number one. Number two, always return a phone call of a headhunter. Any headhunter who's called me, only one headhunter has placed me in my life, but every headhunter who calls me, I go meet the person, talk to the person, understand what he's doing, and then tell him politely, thank you, I'll pass it. But it keeps you in play. Okay, it's a very simple tip. It's a very thing. People get very arrogant when they're doing well. I know many people when they're arrogant, when a headhunter calls, they say, no, I'm not interested, go away. You can still say, I don't want the job, but go meet him, no? Nothing's wrong. Okay, we don't build goodwill when we are doing well. We actually build ill will when we're doing well. That's the problem of human nature.
Great, sir. I'm personally impressed because whenever I send you a message, I want to speak to you. Within a minute, he'll call me back. Not even he'll say yes. Great, grateful to you, sir. Here's a question from Mr. Karthikeyan. We'll take two last questions, sir. Mr. Karthikeyan from, again, Zoom. He said, how did you get inspired after your bad luck situation like Nokia?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. Nokia was actually a deep self-reflection because I was working 48/7 and I fell ill because we were just taking too much pressure trying to sell Windows when it couldn't sell. The thing is, one had to take a deep, hard look in the mirror and say, have I done everything that I could? And I could honestly say that I have given 110%, 120%. Okay, I don't think anybody could have given more. So I said, okay, I can live with it. Okay, but it's always a heartbreak when you know that the brand you loved, the brand you cared for and invested so much. We moved it from 77 to 1, a nothing company to India's largest multinational. Like, we are the son of the ecosystem. Nothing, everything we touched was gold. Okay, but you recognize that the run is over. Good hard look, say thank you. I've done my best. Move on. That's all. Don't look back.
Great, sir. One last question from Mr. Sate from Mumbai. He says, I got a job offer from Dubai last month, which I rejected due to high volatility in the job market nowadays. Do you think it's safe to accept such international offer in such a volatile time, especially in the pandemic time?
I don't know. I think going international, I talk about that. You must be clear why you're going international. Are you going international because you see yourself as a global manager? Are you going international to pick up a new skill? What is the reason? Are you going international because the head office of your company is there? You must be clear why you're doing that. Okay. In terms of volatility, I was just reading day before yesterday, the volatility index, the Columbia, whatever index they call it, the VIE, VIX, CBIE, VIX is at 25.4 right now. Okay. 12 to 20 is good. Okay. It's safe. Beyond 20 is still volatile. It's right now at 25. In the global financial crisis in 2008, it had gone to 89. Okay. So things are coming back to normal. Okay. So that's what I would say. If you have a good offer, always take it. Okay. So don't worry, as long as you're clear why you're going international.
Fantastic, sir. Maybe being here, I'll take the privilege to ask you one last question. I remember you stayed in your hotel room only during the pandemic time. You couldn't go back to your family. Now, all through the time, how do you keep yourself mentally and physically fit, sir? Because you're staying away from the family, working, pandemic, a lot of difficult situations in the organizing too. How do you keep yourself fit, agile?
Absolutely. Great question. Thank you, Captain, for that. Grand Hyatt, the apartments where I stay, they took great care of me, whether it was Sonali, the manager, or Renuka or Parul, they were fantastic. They treated me like family, and everything I wanted, they really ensured that I was there. The first 2 weeks were very bad because, there was dim lit in all the apartment hotel block, no, sound anywhere on the road. You walk around, there's nobody, etc. Then we requested them there were about 60 apartment owners. We requested them for a treadmill, and they put 4 treadmills out. And one of the best things which happened to me was I got onto the treadmill every morning. I would run 8 kilometers, and I've stayed there. It's exactly a year. March 20th or so when we started, close to that. I hit the treadmill every day, and I must say in the 365 days, at least 330 days, I must have run 8 to 10 kilometers every day. Okay, I've been at the fittest that I have been ever in my life. That's what it is. Number one is you read a lot, and because the pandemic puts everybody on the same line, I talked to a number of people to find out what they were doing. So it was great, immense learning also.
Thank you so much, sir. As usual, fascinating evening, great insight, very inspiring. And I know all the people who are watching the program would have got inspired. And I urge upon everyone to buy the book. And now I request Nanda, Mr. Shankar, please join us on stage to present a moment on behalf of any request, Mr. Shankar, Dr. Nanda, Mali, please. Can you come on stage?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. Thanks for coming. Keep coming. He will sign the book and give it to you, autograph the book. Please come onto the stage. And thank you. Thank to each one of you. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night till we meet again. Bye.